Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is Tuesday the 6th of March 2018. Let's have a look at what's making the political news today. So to start off with, this is absolutely covering all of the national papers today and indeed the news feeds as well. So this is something you should probably know about. Sergei Skripal, who's a Russian double agent fighting for his life after being allegedly poisoned in a shopping centre near his Salisbury home. Now, he was jailed in Russia for treason after handing secrets to MI6, or being accused of handing secrets to MI6, working as a double agent for the British security services. He was later given refuge in the UK after a part of a spy swap deal. Effectively, he was able to come back to the UK. Now, politically, this is very, very, very important. Let me just run through why. Well, first off, MPs are probably going to demand an urgent statement from ministers today to get a full update of what the situation is and the circumstances surrounding this alleged poisoning. But there's a very, very strong comparisons with this case and what happened in 2006 with the assassination of Alexander Litvinenko. Now, what happened there was two Russian agents slipped radioactive substance, which was called polonium-210, into his tea at the London Millennium Hotel, which was fatal to him. Now, that comparison is going to put more pressure on the UK government's relationship with Moscow and the Kremlin. And certainly that public perception that this is something similar to what happened in 2006 with Alexander Litvinenko is also going to politically feed into pressure with the Kremlin as well. Now, at the Lord Mayor's banquet, just to emphasise how strained relations are between the UK and Moscow, the Lord Mayor's banquet, the Prime Minister Theresa May said, "I have a very simple message for Russia. We know what you're doing, and you will not succeed." Now, this is particularly tricky for May, having been Home Secretary during a very, very tricky time as well with the Russian state. As Home Secretary, she was criticised for putting off an investigation, an inquiry, into the Litvinenko case, the Litvinenko assassination. And then after, in 2016, a report by Sir Robert Owen, commissioned by Theresa May, said that Vladimir Putin was probably approved Litvinenko's assassination. She was not seen to really be pulling the punches and making the Russia really pay for what the inquiry and what the report actually found. So what Theresa May does now was going to be very important to break any previous perceptions of her as not standing up to Russia in the face of what could be Russian black ops happening on the streets of the UK. Really interesting story. Definitely some lines coming from the House of Commons and Parliament more generally today, so keep an eye out for that. Next up, EU reject mutual recognition. Now, what does it mean here? The member of the EU's negotiating team has said May's proposals, which are based on mutual recognition of standards post-Brexit in terms of UK-EU relationship, are not compatible with the rules of the single market, effectively saying they are not going to be workable. Now, who is this person? This is Stefan de Rennek. Now, he is one of the negotiating team for the EU, one of Mr Barnier's closest advisors on the negotiations. He also said that businesses in the EU are more concerned with maintaining the integrity of the single market, the EU single market, than the loss of any access to British markets, while underpinning the EU's position that there's going to be no compromise for the UK in terms of a future trade deal. Obviously completely subject to negotiations whether that actually does happen, or whether this is just all rhetoric being said at a speech in the UK during the negotiation period. Now, Philip Hammond is due to, this report's actually come through today of Philip Hammond, the Chancellor, saying that no deal planning must continue until the end of 2020. Yeah, in fact, said that yesterday, just to give a sense of Brexit still being stretched out beyond March 2019. And similarly, a Progress think tank, which is a Labour-leaning think tank, have got a report out today which says that identity cards and a series of sweeping reforms to free movement could keep Britain in the single market. Check out Progress if you're particularly interested in more of that. ID cards, certainly something which politically has been very, very unpopular in the UK, but the case now being put forward, as you can see, from a left-leaning think tank. And finally, one more story then, trade war looms. Now, this is specifically to do with what President Trump has been saying across the Atlantic, and now what the European Union has been saying in retaliation. So the European Union has warned retaliatory measures could be put in place if President Trump enacts trade tariffs, particularly on aluminium and steel, and that directly impacts the EU. The EU would put a 25% import tax on things like Levi jeans, bourbon whiskey, possibly Harley-Davidson motorcycles, if the tariffs affect European steel and aluminium. Now, this is following, obviously, Donald Trump's unilateral decision to impose these tariffs, or decision to want to impose these tariffs. Not politically very strong for him at home, though. The Republican leader, Paul Ryan, released a statement asking the White House to reconsider plans, saying, we are extremely worried about the consequences of a trade war. So really interesting stuff there. EU, big bloc taking on the US, obviously global superpower, economic leader. What's going to happen there? We'll just have to wait and see. That's pretty much it for today. You're up to date. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing here on Core Politics on our Facebook page and Twitter right here. But from me and all the team here at Core London, have a fantastic start to your Tuesday.